Hello, fellow foodies and gastronomes. I'm Taraja Morel. I'm a freelance food and travel writer who writes for publications like the Wall Street Journal, Food and Wine Magazine, Departures, and I am delighted to be here today to celebrate the launch of Phaidon's new book, Today's Special: 20 Leading Chefs Choose 100 Emerging Chefs, with the first of a series of two virtual talks held in partnership with San Pellegrino. Today's special is a cheat sheet for those of us for whom eating well is a lotus star. If I'm traveling to a foreign city, the first thing I do is reach out to a chef friend or foodie who's familiar with my destination, and I ask them where I should be eating on my visit. Today's special is the ultimate version of that because it calls advice from 20 of the most interesting and well known international chefs cooking today, 10 men and 10 women. I'm honored to have contributed 20 chef articles to today's special. And when I did so, our world was a very, very different place. In the year plus since this book was put together, our industry has been brought to its knees due to COVID. And as with all great restaurants, even after the hairiest of services, it's finding its footing again with hope, hard work, and vision as its perpetual guiding lights. Now more than ever, it's important to look at the next generation of chefs who will feed us in mind and body with their curiosity and creativity. Now, we are going to speak with two chefs featured in today's special: Diana Davila of Midwest Mexican restaurant Mitocaya Antojeria in Chicago, and, and Manuela Bufara, the Brazilian executive chef and owner of Manu in Curitiba, Brazil, where the food and experience are directly connected to the restaurant's natural surroundings and the local flora and fauna. Welcome, Manu and Diana.
Hello,
Thank
good
you.
to be
Thank you
here.
so much.
Okay, so we will start with you, Manu. You were nominated for today's special by three Michelin-starred chef Dominique Crenn of Atelier Crenn in San Francisco. How does it feel to be recognized by one of the world's most well-respected chefs?
Well, Dominique, for me, I'm super big fan, and we became a friend many years ago. With in We were doing something in Haiti, and she invited me to help her, to develop the chocolate and the coffee over there. And I'm I was really honored, to be nominated by her. Not just because she's one of the best chefs, but she's an incredible human being, and she has like the same vision as I have as a chef. As we are not just cooking today, we are here to change the future, to change the world through food, and to develop something more. It's not just today. Is not just about, okay, you are serving a really fine dining restaurant or you have like amazing restaurant, but what do you do for your community? What are your contribution for the world? So I feel really honored because she has like the same projects and the same vision that I have for the future, for the gastronomic future.
Fantastic. And Diana, you were nominated by Swedish Ethiopian chef Marcus Samuelsson, who's lauded internationally and a fabulous restaurateur as well as being a chef. How did it feel to be nominated by him and to read the things he had to say about you, his words of praise?
Well, it felt great. We didn't know each other. We actually met because of a show that he did, No Passport Required, and I ended up being on his first season, like want to say the second or third episode. And so I really didn't know what to expect, but I jumped at the opportunity just because I had seen a documentary that he had done with Vice about his story and about his heritage. And that's something that very much resonates with me because I'm inspired by my culture, my heritage, and what I cook. So I jumped at the opportunity and we did it, and it also was like perfect things colliding, perfect timing, because it was also we like to call it at Mitokaya our birthday, our 1-year anniversary, which was very, very special. I mean, this restaurant we put everything into it. And so it was a very special time, and it was a sort of celebration while we were filming it. And so the moment that we met, I feel that we just had a very strong connection. It was really great to cook with him. And I feel like a lot of sort of stories while our time there together, I mean, my family was there, our employees, our team, and we were really able to connect about where we came from, what it means to us, and how the show is all about the connection of food and, you know, what is an immigrant, if anything, you know, I mean, food travels. Food is all about the traveling of food and geography. So we just made a really strong connection, and I was really happy to be a part of it. And so, you know, years later, hearing that he remembers, you know, I feel like it made me feel even more special, because I knew that he was traveling so much with the show, you know, because it was specifically, I mean, it's in the name, no passport required. So it feels great.
Well, we never forget a terrific meal, and obviously you cooking together left an impression. So I want to go back with each of you and talk a little bit about your histories and what got you to this moment in your careers. Manu, you grew up on a farm. You learned to cook from your grandmother, I believe. And you eventually wound up in some of the most eminent culinary temples all over the world, like Noma and Alinea. What made you decide to go back home and open your 10-seat restaurant in an area that's not really known for culinary offerings?
Well, I grew up in the countryside of my state, and my father is agricultor. So for me, it was really normal to live by the corn, by the cows, by the lambs. So I always grew up, and my grandma, she's from Italy, and my grandpa is from Lebanon. So food for us is something really important, you know. For my grandpa always say, when you choose a man to marry, look his plate. You always have to put the thing that you're gonna eat. If you left something in your plate, it's not good man to marry, you know, because it's not. He doesn't think about the others, you know. He doesn't think about the way to produce that food. Is not easy, you know. The parsley, okay, you can buy the supermarket, but how long is the parsley to be there? So I always learn about that with my family, you know. Always was important. And I was 16 years old, and I was working in United States for learning English, like work experience. And the year that I was there, doesn't have snow, so they invited. I went to this hotel and asked for a job, and my first job was as a waitress, as a back service. So, and then I went to room service, and all the time I was really young. So for me, I just want to make money, you know. And then one day the chef, because always I was like, put more sugar in the pancakes. Can you put more raspberry, you know? And then the chef said, can you come into the kitchen and, you know, do something? Do you want to, you know, be assistant or something? I'm like, no. Like, come. So I started as a cook. I was 17 years old, and I worked in that restaurant in that hotel for maybe like 3 or 4 months. And then I went to this work in a fishing boat in Alaska because they told me, you have to go to Alaska and you make a lot of money. And then I went to Alaska and I worked in Ketchikan and Kodiak for 1 season. And I went back to the hotel and I told my parents, I really want to working as a cook, you know, as a chef. And then my parents said, no, you're crazy. And my grandma told me, okay, go to Italy and spend a season over there. So I went to Italy and I did a season in Davitorio. So it's a 2 Michelin star restaurants. I was like working as a dishwasher assistant, you know, just to see if this is I want for my life. And then when I was there, I received, the chef always gave me books and magazines. One of the magazines was Apicius, the magazine from Spain, and Noma was there, you know, like a big interview. I think one of the first, it was in 2006 or 2007. I don't remember exactly the year. And then I applied for a stage over there. And then they responded to me and said, well, why you want to stage in December in Copenhagen? Are you crazy? You know, like it's your winter time and you are Brazilian. And I said, yeah. So I went there. I was maybe 19 or I don't know 20 years old, and then I stayed for 1 month, and then I went back the next year for 1 more month, and then I chose a linea. I was working in a hotel business in Curitiba, and I always believe my city. I always believe uh, my work, and I couldn't be in other place. Uh, doing Manu in other place. I think Manu belongs to Curitiba. And I developed not just the restaurant, but I developed so many people here. The community, the restaurant. We have like 15 city, and we have like 63 producers working just with us, and we always keep pushing them, and present them to other chefs. And so it's not just a restaurant. I think it's more like a family, The people who work in the restaurant, um, I have my sous chef. She is with me since we opened 10 years ago. And so it's like we are doing not just serving food, but we are, developing something as the urban garden, as the food that we serve for the homeless, as we are building garden in the trash. So we are, not just doing the restaurant, but something else. And I couldn't be in São Paulo or Rio, I love my city, and I think that's how Manu it is today.
Amazing. Well, it's good that you wound up exactly where you feel like you belong. We'll come back to that. Diana, what about you? You grew up in the United States. You're of Mexican heritage. You've spent lots of time traveling throughout Mexico, where your family's from. And actually, you grew up in the restaurant business. Can you tell us a little bit about how your youth and your personal connection to food has developed into your professional connection to food?
Yes. So, I feel like food was always a big part of, probably because of my family, because of they've always loved eating and reading about food. That's very, which I think is different. I think a lot of times, and I feel like I got that from the woman in my life. And so, with my grandmother, it was quite different. She did it because it was her job to cook, and that was what was expected of her. I know that she liked doing it and she loved doing it just because, she was very good at it, and it was something that she was very good at. And the whole family very much was like, "You're the best cook. You're the best. Nobody could do this like you." And so my aunt sort of took that to a different level. I would spend my summers in Mexico. And so when I would spend my summers, I would be with my aunt, and my mother's sister. She would also cook, not just because she was a stay-home mom, and she had help in the kitchen, but nonetheless, she like always was the one that was directing the meals and what we were going to make. And she took it to another level. Like, she would always be reading books about comida prehispánica, the history of why we have these spices or where this came from. And she had 3 boys, so I became kind of the daughter that they never had, and especially because it very much interested me. And so, and my parents were very eccentric in the way that they always would love to entertain. They loved the arts. My mother's a painter. My dad was sort of a handyman that would like make frames for my mother, any sort of project that she would be doing. And going out to eat was always something that we very much enjoyed, from, the kind of restaurants in the city to the mom and pop places, the like craft places that have been doing something for so many years, ancestral. And so when it came to decide what I wanted to do, I feel like in high school, there's this sort of moment, I think, especially in American culture, where you really have to plan out your whole life in like your junior year of high school. And, I was getting nervous because I didn't want to I wasn't the best student. I mean, I loved school, but more as a social sort of setting. And so I was getting a little nervous. And by that time, my parents already had owned a couple taquerias. And I also loved being there. And it sort of just came to me because I would go to the markets with my dad to pick up produce, and I would kind of do my own grab bag of produce and go back to the restaurant where I was going to stay to work and make a meal for the cooks, which whom I always thought were the coolest people in the world, you know. And so I was making huevos motuleños, and it just sort of happened. I had this sort of magical moment where everything sort of, it was like tunnel vision. I like to always compare it to like when, you know, when you see Spider-Man get his heightened senses, you know, I feel like all of a sudden, like I could really smell like I never smelled before. I could see the way I never saw before. And all of this just sort of made sense in cooking. And I hear my own voice saying that I wanted to be a chef. And so that was just a really powerful, special moment for me. And so when I had that moment, I knew I just wanted to work with people who, like, with chefs that I really loved their food. I wanted to know what they wanted to know. And so that's kind of the way I spent my time as being a, you know, as a professional cook, until I sort of found my way. And I kind of, and now looking back, I find that my cooking has completely evolved and changed. You know, when I first wanted to be a chef, I just really wanted, you know, I didn't really know anything. You know, I didn't know that a serrated knife was called a serrated knife, like anything. And so it was really just knowing techniques and finding the structure. And then it was doing recipes to you know, like to the key of grams and making it, executing the recipes to the exact way that you were taught. And then, so like it's that. And then after that, like you start really understanding everything, and you start looking at things as sort of like ratios, and where you're like, wow, I understand the building blocks. And so you could start being a little creative with of understanding, you know, acids and bases, and how you could formulate recipes, almost like typecasting, right? And then, you know, which is pretty recently with the restaurant, what really happened to me was that instead of even looking at food like that, I feel, I have 2 children now, and I feel that motherhood has really sort of changed the way I look at food and the way I make food. And it really sort of made me connect more with La Tierra Madre, which is Mother Earth, you know, which it just really resonates, like the sort of circle of life and understanding where everything comes from and taking the individual ingredient and understanding what it is. And so now I really sort of look at it, my cooking style more as what I call a bruja, someone who deals with somebody who has all of these ingredients and adds them to a pot to continue the sort of nurturing, to honor where they came from, and to continue the nurturing as a mother, really, you know, because it you know, I feel like I found reconnected being my womanhood with being a mother really sort of changed my cooking style. So I feel like that's my evolution of cooking.
I love hearing that. It makes me want to go to your restaurant even more, because I want to feel what it feels like to be mothered by you and to be cared for by you through your food. That's so lovely. Can you tell us a little bit about the name of your restaurant and what it means?
So Mi Tocaya, I feel like I always, you know, kind of like cooking, you know, so it's just layers of things, of meanings. So Mi Tocaya means my namesake. And in naming a restaurant, you know, this was something that was going to be ours, but I didn't want to show ownership over it. I wanted her to have her own identity. And so you know, it was very sort of important to me, like what would be something that is very intimate and special to me, but yet, and so I came up with Mi Tocaya because it's as if the restaurant bears the same name as me. And in Mexico, we kind of use it as a term of endearment. If somebody bears the same name as you and you get along, you don't call each other Dianas, you call us Tocayas, you know, so like, oh, we're Tocayas. and it's a term of endearment. And so it was a way to express sort of a term of endearment that we bear the same name. That's one reason. The other reason is because I felt that along with womanhood, I became quite the feminist. And so this was a way to kind of share the restaurant with all of my hermanas and sisters, saying that when they say mi tocaya, it also bears their name. So it was a way to connect with all women from everywhere. And then the third reason was really because being working as a chef takes a lot. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of, and there is a lot of sacrifice. And I knew I always wanted a family, and so this was a way that sort of combining the daughter, the wife, the mother, the professional chef, the home cook, all of those sorts of facets into one super being. So it's kind of like my alter ego, my Sasha Fierce, Beyonce sort of thing. So it's a place, Mi Tocaya is like a place where it's like I could get to combine all of those into one super being of who I want to be, the best of what I want to be.
I love that. And actually, Manu, your restaurant also bears your name. So it is also, in a way, your tocaya. So can you tell us a little bit about the dishes on your menu? I know that your grandfather was a huge inspiration as well for your tasting menu. And can you tell us about some of the taste profiles that we might find there?
Well, manu is made from local ingredients, and we use it, things that you'll find in the supermarket or in the streets. That's how I believe food it is. It's like a dress, like the same dress you can use and I can use, but it's gonna be much better in you than me. So I always think ingredient like that. So I have the beautiful cauliflower. My job is to find the best technique to using that cauliflower, so I don't kill her twice. I always, when I go in a restaurant, I was talking with a chef last night in a clubhouse, and then I was telling him like, when you go in a restaurant and you see this beautiful fish, and you said, "Wow, killed twice," So I always think in ingredients like they give the life for us, like it's in your hands. So do your best, So find the best technique or the best clothes to dress that cauliflower or that lettuce. So manu is made from ingredients that we can find. Curitiba is a region that is located 45 minutes from the sea. We are one of the big suppliers from seafood from all over Brazil. So it's like one of the best oysters, shellfish, and fishes, tuna, and well, a lot of things. And we are 1 hour from the countryside. That's we have like the best pork and the lamb. So it's incredible where we are. It's an incredible region. So the restaurant, it's like my house. So we never have architecture, decoration people. I love art. So I give all the plates, the dishes that is designed is made by hand. So I design the dishes, and I have 2 ceramists who does the dishes for me, and all the arts and the plants that we have here. I choose with one is my maitre who works with me since 8 years. We are fanatic on plants, so that's why Manu have a lot of plants. And so I decor with it. I choose the table. I choose the napkins and everything. It's I love construction. If I wasn't being a chef, I would be engineer or architect. I love it. I love construction, and so that's why we call Manu. So you have a doorbell. So you come and you press the doorbell and you come inside. It's look like a house. We have 5 tables. So the table, it's the table that you plan to come here at 5 p.m. So it's yours for the whole evening. If you want to be here until, 11 p.m., it's your table. We don't, make fast and then people should leave, because it's a one meal for 3 hours meal. So we want people feel at home and feel really comfortable. these dishes that I want to talk about, it's the oyster. We have one of the best oyster. It's the river oyster with the ocean oyster. So it's a place that we have in Paraná, the state, that both the river and the ocean, they are together. So it's one of the cleaning and amazing oysters. So it's native oyster. We serve raw, and then I serve with palm heart. So the region in Brazil that we have a lot of palm heart is here, South Brazil. So we do a juice of the palm heart and we ferment it for a couple of days. And then we reduce a little bit and we serve with the bone marrow, with mint in the top. So that's the oyster that we have in the menu since last year. The year before 2019, and it's still on the menu. It's one of the best. And then the other dish that I choose to talk from, it's a really crazy dessert. I always want to do a dessert. Now we have two of them, but with the ocean tasting, like a tasting fish, but it's a dessert. So this is a seaweed sauce. So we use fresh seaweed. We wash a little bit and we do this seaweed sauce with dill oil and dry mushrooms, dry shiitake. So we dehydrate the shiitake and then we make the powder. And we serve with fresh yogurt ice cream. So it's really fresh and really, I always want to take people from their, make they travel a little bit, take there from the safe and make them, this is okay, it's simple yogurt and dill. And then when you put in your mouth, like, wow, it's like ocean, it's seaweed here. And what is that? Look like fish, but they don't have fish. And so I really want people travel a little bit and understand, because always when we eat oyster, you like, okay, it's an amazing combination, passion fruit with oyster. I know it's incredible, but I really take the people a little bit in another level. So that's why the fermented palm heart and then the bone marrow make you feel like the countryside, and then with the oyster with really intense flavor. So that's how we cook it here. We always try to make the ingredients what they are best. Okay, I have this cauliflower, and sometimes it's not about like using like okay, I cook the cauliflower for 12 hours in a sous vide, and then I burn it, and then I cook it that, and sometimes it's just simple, like we are talking the oyster. It's just simple. Open the oyster and raw. It's amazing flavor. Why I want to change that, So I need to find the accessories to go with the oyster, and how I'm gonna make that oyster much, much better than that cheese, So that's how I believe the food, Sometimes we want to put so much things in the plate, and you don't need it to do that. But I think this is, like Diana was saying before, I think this is when I have the girls, I have two daughters, and then change a little bit, how you see the world, how you see the work that you do, I always, we work so much in the kitchen, like, I started here like at 8 in the morning until like 10 p.m., it's like 12 hours in the restaurant, 14 hours. And sometimes I always tell the girls, like, I'm not going to work. Mommy's going to change the work for they understand. Because if we don't say that, work is going to be hard. And they said, I don't like work. My mom, the work always pushed my mom away. So, and then I found a way like to write. I graduated as journalist too. So it's how you can write. A menu is not just a menu; it's a story, So the dish is the story. So how are you gonna write that story when you have a tasting menu? I think it's like a poem, So you have, since you started, since the bread and the butter until the end, like the coffee and the baked foods, they have to. It's like a book. So the dishes have to be the complement. So it's really hard when you do a tasting menu because you have to be all in the same level. You cannot be like, going up and going down, going up and going down. And I think this is when you have maturity to do a tasting menu that people you make people happy. You make people cry, I think this is when it's It's incredible tasting menu. I'm not saying my tasting menu is incredible, but I really want to get in that point, as some amazing restaurant that I have been, like Five Can, and like Noma, like Atelier Creme, and the Barits, and like all these restaurants. And I think it's this as we need to focus in the ingredients. I think that's the future. You don't need to fly things from Japan. You don't need to fly things from New York. You need to be creative. That's my job in the restaurant. I'm paying. I'm the owner, but I'm paying to create. That's all the chef's job in the restaurant. You need to be. You need to develop. You need to develop people, develop dishes, develop ingredients, develop producers. I think that's the chef's and the cook's job inside the kitchen.
And and actually, just to clarify, those two dishes that Manu just described for us are dishes that are actually in today's special in the book. So we who are, brave and want to try to emulate Manu, while we can't yet go to her restaurant and get on a plane just yet, we can actually make those. Diana, can we talk a little bit about some of the dishes that you put on your menu for today's special and why they are truly the essence of what you do and mitokaya and your personality and perspective as a chef?
So I feel like one of the dishes that we put in, I like to kind of say that the way that I kind of look at putting dishes on the menu is sort of a licuadora of tradition, like a blender of sort of tradition. I think that it's very, very important to understand and to know where something comes from. However, I also, understand previous recipes of it and how it's structured. But I don't want to just continue to make other people's recipes, So I think it's in creating, you want to make something that is yours, but yet still honoring sort of your ancestors and where it comes from. One dish is the ensalada nopales. So the ensalada nopales is like a big, it's a really beautiful ingredient that you see everywhere, all throughout Mexico. Mexico is a very large country. And so it's just one of those ingredients that you see no matter where you are in Mexico, you see nopales. And I also think that it's something that many people are sort of scared to cook. It always seems to be the grandmothers cooking it, and it just, so I wanted to sort of play with how is their way of cooking it, and how can we sort of introduce sort of a new technique into cooking nopales, because a lot of times it ends up being, I found everybody always just boils them. And so I really wanted it to like keep that sort of natural state. When you first see them, like it's like love at first sight. They're like this strange sort of they look like strange beasts, right? That just continue and grow everywhere. It's like wild, strange beast that grows everywhere. And also, it has, that protects itself so well. It really does all of its spikes. And so that is also intimidating as well, So, cleaning them, cutting them, and instead of boiling them, something simple, just like salting them, So salting, finding that sort of right amount of salt to be in, and massaging them into sort of, and that's something that I don't like to do. I like to always sort of, I like to have the sort of intro of not wanting to beat food into submission. So with, just like salting them and massaging them and getting this, like, it's going to be okay. It's okay, and so and then you rinse them, and you have these like bright, you get this sort of sap out of them that makes them quite, I hate using the word slimy, but yeah, kind of like slimy and gooey. And so once you salt and massage them and really sort of, instead of bruising them, you're actually sort of just massaging that out of them. And then you rinse them, and you have these like bright, beautiful flavor, like salted flavor of the actual of nopales. And I made a fresh raw salad out of that. So, a traditional ensalada de nopales is with onions. And so like, that's where that sort of mixing of tradition, is. So using a traditional dish like ensalada de nopales, where you'll serve it with onions and lots of onions, boiled nopales, whatever other sort of raw vegetables that you have, and cheese and herbs, into a different sort of light. So we have still our traditional sort of raw onions, depending on seasonality. Like I've done raw cauliflower, raw compressed squash, and here in the picture you'll see papalos. So papalos, also this sort of like obscure herb that grows in southern Mexico that we were able to start growing here in Chicago. And then the cheese, cheese is always such a difficult thing for me to get my hands on here in Chicago, because cheeses in Mexico are just so spectacular, but also just not sort of structured, where like when you go to the market, you have all of these people selling their craft and what they make, but they just call it queso de rancho or queso fresco or queso duro. And it's, but there's it's so much more than that. It's like, it has to do, like some of them do it in caves, and it's all also natural, it's using the natural yeast of the air. It's using, so it has all these, so it's all quite regional, but nothing is ever kind of structured that way. So like here, I feel like I'm always sort of typecasting those flavors. So here I had this beautiful burrata that I think is amazing, that reminded me of a queso fresco that I could find in Mexico. And we finish it with this chiltomate. Chiltomate is a sauce that has, it's all in the name, chile tomate. So it has a little bit of chile. It's like chile spiced tomato. So we have tomatoes that we have just, instead of just charring them or boiling them, which is something that you'll find a lot in sort of sauces with tomatoes, like let's find something else to do with them. So again, sort of just letting them, we make our own vinegar, letting them kind of sit in a vinegar, lightly salted and massaged for a couple of days. And then taking that and just bringing it up to a boil. It really sort of enhances that sort of what that tomato was all along. So adding that to it. So it's a very simple salad with a lot of sort of history behind it, but using sort of different techniques to get the most, in my opinion, right? To get the most out of what could be your contribution to this dish. So that's a really good example of kind of the way we look at a lot of traditional dishes and make it into sort of my own, if you will.
Yeah, I feel that so much looking at your food and your menus and feeling like there would be something familiar that I would be able to say, yes, of course, this is from a Mexican tradition, but that it would be a completely new experience of it seen through your lens. And to that end, I wanted to ask you about a term that you, it seems like, have coined about your restaurant and your food, which is Midwest Mexican. So what does that mean to you, since that's what you've given yourself as a moniker?
So Midwest Mexican, because it's this thing of, and not to be like, oh, poor me, but it's one of those things that you always sort of grow up with. My parents were born in San Luis, and I was born here. But I spent my summers there. I've done education there. I mean, I've spent a lot of time there and traveled as well. I was very fortunate to be able to travel a lot in those summers when I was there. And so, but I always kind of felt when I was here, and I'm sure that this is sort of the American experience from children of immigrants, right, is that you don't know where exactly you fit in, right? Because here, I'm looked at like if I was Mexican, and when I'm over there, everybody looks at me like if I'm American. So it's like, and really ended up being quite simple. I don't know what took me so long to find out that I didn't need to have neither acceptance, but to actually it's Mexican American. There's nothing wrong with that, and sort of taking that back into that's who you are. You don't need acceptance from either country, right? And so in finding that, I feel like Midwest Mexican really resonates with me because, again, when you take a look at, and it just works the same way that it works in, say, how it is in Mexico, where you have different, between the history, different trading, different people who have different backgrounds coming and settling where, and sort of that sort of traveling route is all the influences that brought to what was known originally as the pre-Hispanic cuisine. It's the same thing here as well. I feel like it's almost like a subculture of Mexican cuisine because there's just, the fact of the matter is, I mean, Mexico produces and grows so much. It's incredible. And the growing season here in Chicago is, well, we have about 8 to 11 weeks. Yes, there's things that continue to grow, but the actual growing season is very small. So in trying to interline with that, you have to kind of think about, again, typecasting, like, well, we may not, something like nopales may not grow here. So sometimes, but okra grows here. So using okra instead of nopales in sort of traditional dishes where you will see that, or there's not a lot of tropical fruit notes that you could find here, but you do have something like pawpaw, which is native to here and also has that sort of tropical notes that you like, that you're looking for. So really it's all about sort of that, understanding what grows here and what fits into that. And then also vice versa, what grows here that reminds me of. So Midwest Mexican very much means that, is that being conscious of where am I now? Where are my feet in the, when your feet are in the sand, in the tierra, where am I planted right now? And that is super relevant for anybody, for anything that's living, So I feel like Midwest Mexican just makes sense to me in what we do because for all of those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting thinking about where your feet are planted in the sand and what that means, what's around you, your surroundings. And, that is another definition of community. And I think that that's a word and a theme that comes up again and again when talking to chefs, particularly you two today. So switching to Manu for a second, let's talk about the sense of community. You said that Dominique Cren's significance, that she puts a lot of emphasis on that, and I know you do too. So could you talk a little bit about how Manu the restaurant fits into its local community and what that means for you in terms of importance of the identity of you as a chef and as the restaurant?
So before we opened the restaurant, I did a lot of expedition. First, because I need to understand where I come from and to understand the story of the place, how the food started to come in here 300 years ago, 320 years ago, that's Curitiba was born, and understand what's the season about the fishing, our fishing, our seafood come from, visiting farmings, visiting producers, because sometimes it's not just you pick up the phone and then call, So you need to develop the system. It's totally different here than US, So people from the countryside, they need more information and education. Sometimes they do organic, but they don't understand how important it is to keep doing organic, not using the pesticides. So the place here are incredible. We are in the heart of the Atlantic forest, So we have so many ingredients, so many native stuffs. So before I opened the restaurant 10 years ago, we developed this community, like the best. We have the best guy who produced our sugar cane, the brown sugar, is driving 3 hours from here. So once in a month, we drive 3 hours. We go inside. It's crazy because but it's the best brown sugar that we have. And then, okay, but I'm doing this by myself. I need other chefs to do too, That's one of the jobs that we developed. So, okay, and then I started with this, we are in 10 today, 10 women that are chefs producers, cheese producers, journalists, that we were starting traveling. I organized the trips, and then to then go with me and understand where's the best oyster come from. Why Manu have these ingredients and I don't? Why she have like she does their butter? Where the milk come from? Where's the yogurt that she does is amazing. So I starting to develop the producers with the shops so it's about sharing. It's you have to share. That's the future. Uh, uh, People can copy you. Other day I posted on Instagram. People can copy you, and that's a compliment. That's not something bad. It's really good when people copy you. Said, wow, people are copying me, and it's not like this is my producers. It's not your producers. They are the producer that we need to keep their alive. We need them in the future. And so I started to develop this, and then sharing there with my friends. But something was wrong, because sometimes when I go in their house, I said, okay, let's open your refrigerator. You have to see what is inside, what they are eating. So sometimes you see, they have this amazing place. They have like all the fruits, the tree, it's incredible, but they still buying, industrial things, like lasagna on a pot and then using the microwave. So I was, this is what's bothering me. And then I want to do something more. And that something more is starting like, you're not just buying. You have to go there. You have to visit them. You have to teaching them. You have to inform them. You have to keep them as a family, as your restaurant, as together, if I count like 90% of the producer know my daughters since when they are born, like this guy from the sugar, always he called me and said, Manu, how is Elena and Maria? How is your husband? And then keep the team together with them. All of them know my team, the fisherman who fish for us. They always come in the restaurant inside, let's have a coffee and talk about their life, the wife, the kids, So it's not just a business, it's something more you have to develop with the producer. And that's the sense of community. That when you worry about people, you worry about the human being, you worry what they are eating in their home, you worry about the future, about if they have a flu. Oh, you have a flu, it's because you are not eating well, you are not have enough vitamin C, and it's just about food. Everything is about food. And so I started to develop this with them, and I have so many social jobs. We're starting to talk, but I have this institute called Women for Good that we developed 2 years ago. And inside this institute, we have so many work that we do. One is Feed Curitiba. That's a huge program that we do. It's 5 days working as just with your arms, and we build like 600 box with 100 kilos just with organic meat for people who make just like 300 real, like $100 per month. So we give them fair food, good food for the Christmas, and we do one in the middle of the year. We cook for the homeless 400 meals per week, half meal. So we cook at around 40,000 already, something like that. So we have so many social work that we do, and then everything is about food and connect people, reconnect people, because these people were connect when they use the breast of their mother to feed them, in the beginning of the life. That's our first taste when we have in our mouth. And these people were connected with food, but now our job is reconnect again, because in some part of their life, they lost it. And we need to reconnect the people again in their life. I think that's the job, not just my job, but I think all the chefs, all the cooks, we need to work for our society. We need to work for, your city, your country, the world, we don't need, it's, this word cannot work anymore. The selfish word, that word cannot have in our vocabulary anymore. We have to do everything together. I think we have more power when you do together.
I love that you're both kind of touching on themes of like the chef mother. It's such a sort of um, beautiful, almost like goddess-like image of reconnecting people to being fed and to what they're ingesting and how it can actually sustain them. And actually, I'm so excited because I hear that Manu, you're opening here in my hometown in New York City, and that's great because who knows when I'll get on a plane to Brazil next. Can you tell us a little bit about how you managed to decide on New York and how you're going to do that commute, and a little bit about Ella, which is the name of the restaurant?
So for you understand, Ella is because Manu is in Curitiba. My name is Manuela. So it's Ella will be New York and Manu here in Curitiba. So it's really funny. I met Brian, one of my partners. We are in three, me, Brian, Michael. So Brian is married with the Brazilian girl. And they used to be, they are my clients here. And once he called me and said, let's open a barbecue, I said, hey, you're talking with me. I'm not a meat girl. Of course I eat meat, but I'm not like a barbecue house or stuff like that, a steak house. And then he said, okay, let's open whatever you want. I just want your food here in New York and show, the American that Brazil is not made about feijoada or meats, that we have a lot of seafood, that, we can be like your touch of food really, really, punch and have these amazing flavors and these Brazilian techniques. And I'm like, no, I cannot manage. I told him, like, I'm a mother for one restaurant. I cannot be, I'm really control person, like I know everything that I have in the restaurant. I know if you change like the chair here, like why you change the chair, why you did that. So I'm really control person, and this started 2 years ago. And then Brian told me, I said, hey Manu, let's talk, come to New York, and okay. And then we developed a place that, I'm cooking home every Sunday for my family and friends. And I have, all these people who come to my house on Sundays. Like we cook for 20, for 40, of course, before the pandemic. And then Brian once was in my house, and said, hey, is this kind of food we want? Really, it's fine dining, but in the same way, it's like people are sharing and they eat whatever they want, and it's fancy, but you can, it's a restaurant that have really nice music, and if you go inside, it's Brazilian side, and it's your personality. I see you like here, it's friends, and you have beer, wines, and I need this kind of Manu, the other Manus, other personality. That's why come the name of Ella. It's like two personalities in one person, and that's how it's gonna be Ella. So Ella is gonna be really tasteful. We're gonna, of course, Manu is gonna give some dishes to Ella, like in our older menus, like our famous cauliflower, and I don't know, like some other plates that we can share with Ella. So we wanted this place to have a Brazilian, Brazilian happiness and some kind of like girls' power inside, like more like touchful but light menus, a lot of food, fish and seafood. I'm come from South. We have a lot of seafood and fish, so we want to show a little bit that in New York. And of course, it's gonna be a little bit hard. I'm gonna be in New York once in a month for 7 days, and so it's gonna be my second house. And yeah, I'm really happy. It's totally different, and I'm really happy to try to develop some social work in New York too. I don't know how, but I'm figuring out, and I have a lot of friends in New York, so I think we can not just do Ella, but do a lot of work with the community, with the schools, and I'd be really happy, to work with that.
Of that energy. So, as expected, there are many, many wonderful questions coming from those who are tuning in and watching today, and I want to make sure that we get to a couple of them. Just as a reminder to everyone, you can buy today's special directly from the Phaidon website, and you'll have access to recipes from each of the chefs here today, Diana and Manu, as well as 198 others. And this book is prescient. This book is born out of a book called Coco, also created by Phaidon, of course, that nominated chefs that are now the nominators. So these women who we're talking to today will likely be telling us who the chefs of tomorrow are in several years' time. And it's a wonderful community of mentorship that we're talking about. So let's just go for a moment and look at some of the audience questions that are coming in. Okay, from Laura. So interesting to hear about your experiences. Thank you. I was wondering, which restaurants are you excited to eat at and try once we can all travel again? Diana, do you want to go first with this?
Funny enough, I would love to have an answer, but to tell you the truth, like I feel like I've been so occupied in a way of, this last year was very, very intense. It was just full of just being at the edge of your seat, trying things, making something work, making sure that you keep afloat. My two children are also young, so they also e-learning at home, getting creative with what you could do. I honestly have not even thought about, I guess, the world in that aspect of like where to go out after that. If anything, to be honest, like it's been an exciting time for us just because there's things that we have developed that have gone so well that we want to continue to do. So it's more so like, what are the things that we could continue to do? How can we take what has worked for us so well? Listening to Manu about how she did community, like we also made this project called Todos Ponen, where we do meals for families in our neighborhood and undocumented workers. And so like we want it, that sense of community really changed all of us. And we want to continue to do that. So like, how do we take that into our restaurant, into sort of, it's something that we have to, when somebody is new, whether it's a part of their training or we do this 2 times a year. So I haven't even really thought about a restaurant. I could tell you right now, I mean, I would love to go to Brazil to visit Manu's place. I mean, that would be a place right now at the top of my head.
Yeah, and I'm sure you just want to look out at your own dining room and see it full of healthy, happy people
maybe when
again.
things get a little bit back to normal and you actually like get to sort of think, I mean, but I really haven't really given it much thought right now. Like the greatest idea the best answer I could give you is going to Brazil to visit Manu's restaurant.
It's gonna be a pleasure having you here.
I want to go to both of yours. Okay, next question is from Elle to Manuela. Why did you decide to keep your restaurant so small and only a few tables? You mentioned your love of art and constructing the dishes. Does having less people in the restaurant add to the atmosphere?
I think when you have a small restaurant, it's I decided a lot of reasons. One of the reasons, I have my employers here work with me since a long time, and I think we need a life. So I decided to have less table, 5 tables, because I wanted these people on Saturday, on Friday night, be with their families. So we open Wednesday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 9. The last table can come at 8 p.m. So 10:30 we are at home, so they can be with their family, they can have the last meal, they can have a bottle of wine. And I think kitchen is not something that we should work in 16 or 15. It need to be a health place, and that's one of the decisions that I took 2 years ago. The other decision is because people feel more at home, they feel connected to you. They feel really special to have their table with the menu, with their names. And we know when they are come, the time they are come, where are they? So we Google all the guests here in the restaurant. So we know who are they, where they traveling from, where, if they are in the hotel. So we managed to organize everything today to be a really great experience. So that's when I think I invited people at my home. I wanna they have a blast, you know. So I wanna they have the same feeling at the restaurant. That's why I choose to have less table and to organizing the time and the vision and the ingredients and everything. So
Well, I love the idea of considering your staff and their mental health and the health and well-being of everybody who's in and out of your work environment. That's incredible, and we need more of that as well in this industry. Diana, the next question is for you, and I love it. The question is from Tessa, and it says, I love how you said that being a mother heightened your understanding of food and cuisine when it's often seen as a hurdle for women to have a family and career. Do you have advice do you have advice for female chefs when it comes to expectations and barriers?
I think that you have to put your own agenda. You know, when I was pregnant with my first, I felt very, very alone. Now I think that there's much more. The network is way, way larger, which is great. I mean, I did even throw myself into the internet and be like, what other, pregnant chef, executive chefs, like trying to find, because I mean, I felt alone because I didn't think a lot of people kind of understood what was going through. And sometimes, especially maybe at that time, you feel like talking about sort of weakness or like how you're feeling and like could have been conceived as weakness, exactly that, when you're already sort of treading on like waters of, it's scary telling your employers that you're pregnant, like are they going to fire you? And, there's not really many things that protect you for that. So I feel like, what advice I think that you have to kind of sort of think of, but I knew I always wanted to have children. So I feel like you have to sort of set your own agenda. I think your own agenda of what is it that you want? What is it that you want? Because once you know what you want and what you need, it's way easier to be able to navigate. And I think that now is very different than how 10 years ago, how it was with me. There's way more of a network, I think, of women who have had children, who that are experiencing this to talk to. And so I think setting your own agenda, knowing what you want, and so you could better navigate, and using, it really does. I always use the term or proverb, whatever the saying of, it takes a village to raise a child. And don't forget about that. That really does. There's many of us. There's many women like us. So do not be afraid to reach out, because we need it, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're all here for.
That's great advice, although we all know it can be hard to ask for help. So the next question is from Melissa Malay. This is a question for both or either of you. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of the collaborative relationship between a chef and a sous chef, or a chef, executive chef and a CDC, maybe as it pertains to mentorship, maybe as it pertains to fostering their curiosity and confidence so that they will want to continue with you? Can you talk about that?
Me or Diana?
Either of you,
okay.
Whoever's feeling inspired.
So I have two sous chefs in the restaurant. Both of them work with me. Deborah worked with me since 10 years. Lucas, way before. He used to be my sous chef at the hotel when I was in the hotel. So maybe like 13 years, something like that. He's the one who is moving to New York to be as the head chef of Phaidon. And I think this is, it's something, it's a leadership, it's you are a chef, but before you were a cook, and They need to understand, they have to be in the same page as you. They need to want the same goals. They need to understand as how you understand the word, how you understand food, you know. If they are in the same page, they love what you do. You open your mind and let them to create too. Let them to be. You can trust them. You know, like this is a relationship. It's like when you married. You know, I really trust them, and they travel with me all around the world. They have been, and you know, when I'm not in the kitchen, it's something like they are thinking the same way I'm thinking. You know, and I think this is for me. I have amazing relationship. You know, sometimes I don't need to say it, and she come to me and said, "I know, chef. I know. Don't worry. I know what you're thinking. Don't worry." And this is like something. It's just not a chef as a sous chef. It's a friendship. It's you know, I have my sous chef Deborah. She is great, but she's not the one who wanna to go inside the jungle, go fishing. You know, she like it, but not too much. You know, it's not you know, but that doesn't make her you know, better or worse. It's the way she like it, and I respect that. You know, she doesn't need to go there. I'm going there. You know, I'm going there, and I'm gonna teach her. And I don't need to, you know, I don't need to be sad or something. You know, it's like sometimes, like okay, you don't have time to read a book, but you can give to someone. Someone read the book for you, and he can tell the story. You know, it's it's like how you manage the things. You know, and that's how the leader manage. You know, and then for me, I have two leaders. You know, Alexander, the greatest, and Hitler. Which one you want to be? And Jesus. You know, I want people follow me because they believe in me, because they believe I know and I share. I don't want people following me and be by my side because they are scared. You know, they don't want to talk with me. Oh, she's Manu, we cannot talk with her. You know, I'm always open. You know, and you know, I know to be funny in the time that I have to be funny, and I know to be mad in the time that I have to be mad. But I don't scream in the kitchen. I respect the human being. You know, as I want to be respect. I want to they respect me, so I want to respect them. I think this is like how I work and how I believe.
Well, it's great. I think that the kitchen culture is shifting, not just in female-led kitchens, which is terrific. Um, is there anything that you want to add to that, Deanna, about mentorship in your own kitchens and in your own restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Manu really kind of did a very well job of sort of saying what is. I mean, being the leader is something that you, in essence, I mean, you follow because you are inspired by them. You want to learn from them. You want to. So I think that, you know, you really have to understand what your role is. And to me, I feel like the role is 100% to not just to lead into like, oh, well, this is my vision and that's it. You know, it's more than that. You also have to, you know, I want everybody who's there to be at 100%, you know, and getting the best out of people. And because when we're at our best, I mean, when we are all at our best, it really creates a sort of environment in anywhere, and this is with anything, of growth, you know, and progression. And so I think that when one understands that, whether one leads or one follows, it creates a very sort of magical environment where everybody not only is nourished, but also is able to give back. And what is that other than, you know, a well-nourished environment? Well, anything could happen, anything can grow. And so I just think it's a matter of energy.
Yeah. I mean, creating a supportive environment is also going to support you both at what you do best as the leaders. You'll know that your team is there to catch you as well, and that's the dream. So on that note, we are out of time. But I love that that's where we ended in a moment of support and inspiring others and catching the people around us and our team. Um, there is another talk. It is next Thursday, April 6th, and it will be moderated by Ryan King, who's the editor in chief of Fine Dining Lovers. It will feature leading chef Hugh Akeson in conversation with two emerging chefs he nominated in the book, Flynn McGarry of Gem New York and Mei Lin of Nightshade in LA. So everyone should tune back in next Thursday at the same time. It has been such a pleasure to talk to you both. It has been such a pleasure to be a small part of this book and get to see it come to fruition in these strange times for all of us. And I just want to thank you both. And I want to thank Phaidon and San Pellegrino for making today happen. And it's been a real treat hearing you both.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope we wait to you here in Brazil or even in New York. Thank you.
I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. Thank you both, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.